There are yet more leaks coming out for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. These ones are even crazier than the ones we had talked about before. Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Do me a favor and smash that like button like the Winter Soldier, and let's get right into this news. Now, right off the bat, I need to issue a light spoiler warning. This is once again coming from this insider that has been leaking information on Reddit about the Disney Plus shows. And while this source is not 100% verified, a lot of what they are saying is lining up with other leaks and rumors and things that other scoopers are saying, and so we are at least going to talk about it here, and it is potentially going to spoil stuff for the show. So if you don't want any spoilers for the show, get on out of here. Okay, so the first thing this person does in their new report is break down something that they had talked about before, and this is something we had talked about before, and this is this idea that Bucky Barnes is not going to have all of the code completely wiped out of his brain, that there is in fact one more trigger word still in there. Apparently this trigger word is going to be Sputnik, and this trigger word shuts off Bucky completely. And this person basically explains that they're not retconning the work that Shuri did on Winter Soldier in Wakanda. In fact, we know there's going to be a part in the show where Zemo attempts to use those words again to trigger Bucky, and Bucky's going to like pretend that he is triggered, but he's not actually going to be triggered. So no, it's not that they're removing her work. She did obviously clear out all of the codes to take him over. Those no longer exist, but there was another code that wasn't in that programming, and according to this insider, she didn't know it was there, so she didn't remove what she didn't know was there. And also, this is a worst case scenario failsafe. It wasn't even in that book that had all of the other words that Zemo used, so nobody knew about this, including Shuri. And that's just that. Now, this person describes the opening to the pilot, and it's told in a kind of humorous way. It takes place right after Endgame, and even though Steve Rogers is not in there, there's no cameo by Chris Evans. It basically picks up right after he gets the shield. They're both just on the park bench, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They don't really know where they're gonna go. They get in the car and drive away, and Bucky has no place to stay, and this is kind of told in like a humorous way. And then essentially they decide to go to Sam Wilson's family house. Okay, so they pull up to Sam Wilson's family house. His family hasn't seen him since the Accords, and when asked where he has been, Bucky and Sam kind of look at each other and say, that's a long story. Now, this is where we get into the really juicy stuff. We knew that Thunderbolt Ross was going to be in the show, that he was going to visit Sam and essentially tell him that he could not be Captain America because he was on the wrong side of the Accords. He didn't sign the Accords. That's not good. The government doesn't want him to be Captain America. But according to this new information, he is actually made an offer by Thunderbolt Ross. And the offer is basically that he will be pardoned for his crimes, he can keep the shield and be Captain America, but he has to undergo the super soldier serum transformation. He has to get the super soldier serum into his body. If he agrees to do that, then the government will back him, they'll forgive him of his crimes, and he can be the new Captain America. Now, this is going to bring in an interesting aspect to the show where Bucky's essentially going to tell Sam, don't do it. It's not worth it to outlive all of the people that you love. And we know that not only has the Winter Soldier been given a longer life because they keep putting him on ice, but he actually has a little bit of that super soldier serum in him, right? That's why he's so dangerous. That's why the other Winter Soldiers are so dangerous. Now, this is also where the Isaiah Bradley character comes into play. And we had talked about this before, right? But this kind of more concretely explains how this is going to work. Sam is essentially going to get a call from Isaiah Bradley, and then Isaiah Bradley is going to explain about the Captain America Super Soldier experiments. And it's more or less explained that the government did experiment on a bunch of African American soldiers after Steve went into the ice. So he goes into the ice, they need a super soldier, so they start experimenting, right? We had talked about this before. It all comes from a Marvel story, Truth, Red, White, and Black. But yeah, the Isaiah Bradley character essentially explains this all to Sam. It makes Sam take the stance of, no, I'm not going to take that serum. I'm not doing this. The way the government has gone about this is super shady. I'm not into it. Now, it says here that Sam is literally handing in the shield, and at this point, U.S. agent does get the job, okay? So the John Walker character is going to step up to the plate and actually become Captain America, and he is given the super soldier serum, okay? Now, what's crazy is it says says here that after he's given the super soldier serum, he is able to be mind controlled. That essentially something in the serum is there to mind control him. And so that's why Ross was willing to make Sam Cap, because he totally would have done it if he had been able to mind control him. Now, it's not clear at this point, it's not clear if Ross and the United States government is in on this. Is this something that maybe Zemo is doing? Does he have some information? Does he know something? Is he pulling strings? Is it Zemo and possibly the Thunderbolts? Is it Ross? Is Ross working with the Thunderbolts? Is the US government in on it as well? We don't really know a lot of that, but apparently the super soldier serum that John Walker gets into him is going to juice him up, but also make it so that he can be mind controlled. Now, that's all that's officially in this report. And this is the same guy that had been talking to us about the stuff he saw in some of the trailers. This is really interesting stuff. I really like the idea, guys, that Bucky is going to be railing against authority. He doesn't want to be controlled, okay? This was a dude that was literally controlled by the government. Now, was it Hydra? Yeah, but it was technically S.H.I.E.L.D., U.S. government kind of thing. The U.S. government used Bucky Barnes. That just is what it is. They used Bucky Barnes. He's going to be very against authority. He's not going to be trusting of people. After Sam Wilson has this encounter with Isaiah Bradley, he is going to be the same way. He's not going to be trusting people. He's not going to be trusting governments, not even the United States, okay? So this is very interesting. We've been talking a lot about this anti-establishment, anti-government sentiment that is happening in the plot of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This latest plot breakdown or leak kind of confirms that and corroborates a lot of the other reporting that we had been doing. I also just love the idea of the super soldier serum mind controlling. And in general, we're starting to think that there's going to be a tie-in here between what's going on in the Black Widow movie and what eventually gets set up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and what Thunderbolt Ross will take into the Thunderbolts either show or movie. Because there is still a lot of smoke about a Thunderbolts property being developed in the MCU, and we've just heard rumors that the Red Hulk will make his first appearance in whatever that Thunderbolt thing is, or possibly in the She-Hulk show. A little bit of conflicting reports there, but either way, again, a lot of people talking about Red Hulk coming into the picture. We've also recently talked about how it's possible that Omega Red makes an appearance in Falcon and the Winter Soldier as well. And the interesting thing about Omega Red is that he comes from sort of a Russian version of the Weapon X program, another program where they're trying to create super soldiers secretly in Russia. There could have been something like this going on in the United States as well. This is just really fascinating stuff, man. So I'm loving this idea that they offer up to Sam to become a super soldier. Of course, you would want to become a super soldier. And in some ways, you could probably think, yeah, I'd be able to help a lot more people if I actually was a super soldier. But it's also awesome that we get this point of view from Bucky and from Isaiah that is basically like, nah, bro, that ain't good. You don't want to do that. That's another way of the government controlling people. The last thing I'll get into here is that this person talks a lot about how much they love the show, how they are lightning in a bottle, Falcon and Winter Soldier together. These actors are incredible together. Their chemistry is great. The story is great. They even say in this post that they like this show more than Endgame, especially tonally, which is very interesting to me. You guys know I'm in that camp, man, where I'm most excited for Falcon and the Winter Soldier out of almost anything that's coming out from the MCU in the next couple of years. Like, this is it for me. And so I'm really excited, and I'm glad that this person is singing the praises of the show. But that's it, guys. That is the news and report. Take it with a grain of salt. It's coming from this source on Reddit that hasn't been completely verified, but this person has been leaking other stuff that seems to be confirmed by some of the other scoopers out there. So we're at least willing to talk about it here. I want to know what you think about this. What do you think about Sam Wilson being offered to keep the Captain America role if he would take the super soldier serum? What do you think about the super soldier serum mind controlling people? How ridiculous is that? Do you think the U.S. government is involved? Is Thunderbolt Ross doing this? Is he going to sort of turn heel and then go Red Hulk in the Thunderbolts? What do you think is going on with all that? Let me know in the comment section below. And now let's shout out Big Bob 0042. Yes, indeed, it was X-Men #4 that was the first appearance of Omega Red in Marvel Comics. So shout out to you, Big Bob. And now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. In Marvel Comics, there was a comic where Captain America had a son named James. I want to know, in the comics, who was the mother of James Rogers. That's right, in that crazy comic book, I want to know, who did Steve Rogers have a kid with that became James Rogers? Answer that question in the comment section below. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.